All right, good morning, Mortgage Coach community. It's Tuesday at 9 o'clock, and we are here every Tuesday to bring value, to bring leadership, to bring wisdom. And as my special guest today, I have Khai McBride. What's up, Khai?
What's up, Dave? Always good to be back.
It's always good to talk to you, bro. I always take a lot of notes, get a lot of takeaways, and I just get happy. You just have that way about you, your smile that you make people happy, man.
Yeah, we always chase each other all the time.
Yeah, no, it's
we've known each other for, so you asked me this, we've known each other for, I guess this is the 15th year because we met in 2006. So it's been a while.
It's been a long time. So for those of you that don't know Khai, and maybe for even those that do know Khai, you know, I met Khai when you worked with Tim Brahim. You were an up and coming mortgage innovator. And I really don't think anyone did a better job of taking the fact that they were a mortgage coach, that they delivered advice, that they do annual reviews, and then created marketing and packaging around that. You were absolutely a pioneer at marketing yourself as a mortgage advisor. So that is who you are to me. You know, you were a black belt back in the day before there was a black belt.
Yeah.
You know, and then I find really cool the fact that, you know, I had posted this in our Facebook group, and Bill Hart, you know, another coach, said one of the brightest minds in the mortgage business. You know, everybody knows you, everybody loves you. And I was talking to Bill Hillstead yesterday, and he was telling me just how much respect he has for you, bro. So it really is like the perfect time to have you in the mortgage coach community. I know we have a lot to talk about. So if we don't get it all today, we'll schedule another call next week or next month. For anybody listening to today's call, I mean, we want to make it as interactive as you guys want to make it. So if you're live in Zoom, if you're live on our Facebook group, just post your comments down below. And I think we have time to get to it. So Khai, when I reached out to you because I wanted to interview you, and I said, hey, what should we talk about? And you talk about, you know, let's talk about how to create adaptive, sustainable business models. And I think in today's market, the concept of, you know, adaptable, obviously, or, you know, you're adapting or you're dying. But what did you mean by that? And why did you make that the big topic for today?
You know, I think it's interesting because, you know, you said to me, innovative, and I'll say it's hard staying innovative. You have to reinvent yourself every single year to be relevant, but not to be relevant, but to be profitable. You know, sometimes I think how somebody like an artist like Madonna is constantly reinventing herself over the years and over the years and over the years.
What did you mean by that, and why did you make that the interesting? That was weird.
You know, Madonna, yeah, you know, Madonna, when she came out in the music scene, she was like this revolutionary sound, but 10, 15 years later, she was still relevant. And I think that that's the key. So when you even talk about my career, I have to stay relevant, not just in being a thought leader, but just being relevant to business and people still wanting to buy from me, whatever it is I'm selling, whether I'm selling a loan, doing mortgages, or I'm selling coaching, which is my business now. And I think a lot of that is having that adaptive mindset and being able to shift through the times, being able to shift through the different demands. And we see that in the industry. We've gone through 2008. We've seen Quicken come aboard and take market share. So, you know, that seems to be sort of like the 800-pound gorilla. And it's having this mindset that wherever you are, that's not going to take you to the next place. And I think right now, everybody's really, really focused on what's happening. And the thing is that we should have been prepared for what's happening like a year ago. And then right now we should be preparing for next year and just having this complete adaptive mindset so that we can make it through these different times, and having a sustainable mindset, having the foundation of your business, even things like personal expenses and savings. I mean, I talk a lot about that too. This is like a huge topic for me. I can go off on 20 million tangents, right? Everything's the loaded question for me. But that's what I mean by that. I mean, what better time during now and COVID has it really awakened us, especially those of us that have been through this in 2008, and it's like, oh, we're going through this again, to really look at your business. And if you're just focusing too much on sales or liquidity and what we have and what we don't have, you're not going to survive and thrive in this market. You have to continue to adapt and adjust, because when products go away, you have to make the shift. When rates go away, you have to make the shift. But you want to make the shift, not too late, and that's the key. And that's really what.
No doubt. I don't remember what year I first saw this quote, and I don't remember who wrote it, and I may even not say it right, but this quote really hit me years ago, and it might have been a decade when I first saw it, but the quote goes like, "The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn." And so I just think that's never been more true than today. And obviously we're in this Corona crisis as we speak. And so there's a lot of people that have just been thrown into, you've got to learn. You've got to learn to use Zoom. You have to have some type of way that you're interacting with your team. And there's a technology that comes into play, like you're learning to use a technology, but then there's also just the way that you have to run a meeting, the presence that you have, the way that you take notes, the way that like when you're all in the same room, physically there, you can see a lot of nuances and body language that you can't see in Zoom. So, it's everything is adopting and relearning technology, and everything is adopting and relearning how to be effective leaders and communicators that has nothing to do with technology. So anyways, I would love to know down below, guys, what are some things that you're learning and unlearning right now? So community, what are you doing to learn, to adopt, to be adaptive, as Khai would make it? So Khai, I don't know exactly how you want to take this. I know you do have some slides that you want to go through. I know I have a question, and maybe you want to answer it with slides, or maybe you just want to speak to it. But
yeah,
when you say a sustainable business model, what does that mean, and what is the Khai McBride sustainable business model?
So there's two parts to your business. There's sustainability, and then there's adaptability, right? So the sustainability is the foundation to your business that allows you to maintain your levels of production, allows you to get through the times. So three metrics that I use for all of the people that I coach and everybody that I talk to and everybody that I work with when it comes to sustainability are three things. Number one, what is your database pull through? Number two, what is your referral rate? And number three, if you're in the purchase market, which we all should be, what is your listing agent pull through? What I found is that the reason why this industry, and if you notice, this industry is always really obsessed with lead generation, is we do a poor job at those three things. And if you had those three things, you would be doing more business, but you would have more sustainable business. So database pull through is all the people that you've spoken to, number one, should be in a database. So if you're not putting them in a database, then you're just basically forgetting about people. So if you have, let's say, 1,000 people in your database, know that statistically, 20% of them are going to get a loan every single year. So out of a 1,000-person database, 200 people are going to get a loan every single year. If you could convert even half of that, 50%, you should start off every year doing 100 loans. So the minimum is a 10% pull through, 10% pull through. And so when we talk about the importance of annual reviews, which you talk about all the time, that's something that maintains that 10%. And it's sustainability because people don't hit that 10%. And so they're always chasing leads and always chasing the new thing. And in times like this, they're trying to figure out where their business is, because business is a market share game. Here's the reality that people have to see. Regardless of what's happening with liquidity and COVID and everybody else, there's two things that aren't going away. Borrowers aren't going anywhere, and houses aren't going anywhere. When liquidity comes back and when the market comes back and we can actually go outside again, those borrowers are still there. They're still going to want homes. So if we maintain market share of those people and their loyalty and get that 10% pull through on that database, you will sustain. Okay. Secondly is if you actually closed, let's say last year you closed 100 loans, and this is so predictable, it's a little sad in a way. But if you did 100 loans last year, the average person may have gotten 10 to 12, maybe 15 referrals out of those 100 people. Like 15 of those people may have referred them business. if we focus so much on giving great service, how is 15% referral rate even acceptable? We should, there should be, you should have 50% of your clients giving you referrals, 50-60% of your clients giving you referrals. If you had that 30% increase in your business, how much more business would you do, but how much more sustainable it is? Here's another thing to think about. Even during this refi boom, I'm seeing some people doing 20, 30 loans a month without getting referrals. They're just hitting their database. Now imagine if those 30 people gave them 15 referrals. I mean, everything just starts to compound and everything starts to become sustainable for the long term. Think of sustainability like recycling and reusing things, right? Instead of just throwing it away, like everything's disposable. We're treating clients and prospects like disposable razors. We're just throwing everything out instead of creating more sustainable goods, right? And the third thing is—
Wait, time out.
Yep.
I want to unpack those two just for a few minutes because, first of all, I think they are metrics that a lot of originators don't measure as fanatically as they could. And it's pretty rare that I meet a top producer that, and there's different coaching programs, I'm sure yours included, that like every person that gets referred, every lead, name, source, and they track. That's what top producers do, is they track their referrals. And I think almost every loan officer does that. By the way, every top performing loan officer. If you're not tracking and maintaining those, you're making a big mistake. And if you don't know how to do that, go check out winbynoon.com and interviews I've done with Todd, listen to past interviews with Khai. But not everybody is at the end of the month, running that pull-through rate. And I'm with you. That is like probably the most important metric that you should be managing. Is what is your pull-through rate of your past customer database. And you don't have to wait and do it at the end of the year. You could do it every month. So if 10% is the goal, what's your monthly pull-through rate? It should be a little less than 1% a month. It should be like, and by the way, if you're at like 6 to 8%, that's pretty good. Most loan officers, when I ask them what their past customer pull-through rate, first of all, they say, could you explain that? And then two, after they analyze it, 3% is the average. And by the way, that's a good average. I talk to loan officers that are like 1 and 2. So, but if you're at 5, that's a C. If you're at 6 to 8, that's a B. And if you're at 10, you are best of breed past customer pull-through rate. So guys, make sure you write that down. You may have heard that before on this channel. But the referral rate, that's not something we've talked about on this channel. At least I don't remember it. So that's a Khai McBride metric, dude. So thank you.
Yep.
For all you people that track your leads, let us know what your referral rate is down below. Like out of the loans that you closed last month.
Client referrals, not realtor.
Client referrals, right. Client referrals. What percent are you running right now? And then Tiffany said she's a 0. Tiffany, thank you for your transparency. I wanna draw attention to just a 2-minute video that I posted in the Facebook group a few weeks ago. Did you see that one with Jeremy Forcier, where he was asking his past clients, his active clients? He had a strategic way that he was asking. Did you see that?
Yeah, Jeremy is really, really good at that. And you keyed something, active clients, because that's when they're really still thinking about it, right? And that's when they can't stop talking about what they're doing in their current lives with everybody else. By the time they become a closed client, a past client, they're not out there talking about you anymore. And so the best time to get a referral is when they're a current active client. And my metrics for all my clients is 50 to 60%. If you can get a referral 1 out of 2, and if not a referral, then I tell people this: if you can't get a referral, then I'd like to see you get a review on your Google, on your Zillow, on your Facebook. Get a 5-star review. If it's either or, and you really provide great service that you tout, you should be at 80%, because there's no reason why somebody can't give you a 3-sentence review. And for people that say, well, I have 30 reviews on Facebook, that's nothing. If you did 100 loans last year, you should have done 80. If you even did 50 loans a year average over the last 5 years, that's 250. You should have at least 180 reviews. What I love about the Mortgage Coach platform is that the wow factor. We've been talking about the wow factor since the early 2000s. But if you're doing all the wow factor and you're not getting the reviews, or you're not getting the referrals, and you're not getting the pull through, there's something missing. And I always ask people this question: what do you think is the number one reason we don't get more referrals?
We don't ask.
Because we don't ask.
Yeah.
What's the second reason? It's because we don't ask enough. That's the second reason.
I'm going to add one more thought. And the other reason is we don't add strategically enough. So I'm going to show my screen real quick. And I just want to give you an example. So this is one of the top videos of 2020 in the Mortgage Coach YouTube channel. And you can see it's less than 2 minutes, guys. So if you haven't watched it, watch it. If you have watched it, watch it again. And if you have watched it, ask yourself, are you doing something now? And what Jeremy is doing is this is current clients in his active pipeline. He's waiting until they strategically say thank you to him. And usually that happens at pre-approval, happens at some point in the process. And then he puts in the subject line of the email, "We love helping you," space. "Can you help me with something?" Space. "My goal is to work with more people I like," space. "Can you introduce me to 2 people that you think I should know and I can help in the future?" And guys, let's face it, in today's market, everybody knows homeowners that need help. You know, they need a total cost analysis, they need a debt consolidation analysis. So you heard it from Khai, you don't ask enough, you don't ask strategically. And so I think we crushed those 2 metrics. Mortgage Coach community, remember, if you have questions for Khai, bring them in and I'll ask them. So Khai, anything else you want to talk about in terms of these 2 cornerstone metrics to your sustainable process before we go to number 3? Anything else on 1 and 2?
Yeah, so Jeremy's is the law of reciprocity. If somebody's saying thank you, then what's happening is psychologically, you've positioned yourself in their mind and in your own mind that you deserve it. I think a lot of people don't ask for referrals because subconsciously they don't think they deserve the referrals, or they say, I'm bothering somebody. Well, you're subconsciously thinking you're bothering somebody because you don't earn it. One of the easiest ways to get validation to ask for a referral is you should be calling them once a week for a customer satisfaction call and ask them a simple question, just once a week. And at the end, on a scale of 1 to 5 stars, how am I doing in terms of service? 1 to 5 stars, 5 being excellent and 1 being terrible. If they tell you 1, 2, or 3, ask them, what can I do to improve? And maybe you don't deserve it because you need to up your level of service. But if they say 4 to 5, ask them, really, why do you think so? They should be complimenting you. They should be thanking you. You've just positioned yourself. And they say, thank you. We love helping people like you. And you just continue Jeremy's. You continue Jeremy. So strategically, you could do that question every single week. And at the end, how did I do? The third one, to segue into that.
Time out. I just got to add on to that. Because I do think there's also something that people that are top producers, one, they have a level of confidence that their value is higher. And then I know for sure loan officers that actually give a total cost analysis, they give an educational experience that has value beyond the transaction, they feel a worthiness. So I would ask everybody to really think about what he just said. And if you are telling that narrative to yourself that, oh, I've got to close the loan before I do it. Oh, I need to make sure I give it 5-star service before I do it. Or, oh, I'm too busy to do it. I would just ask you to, 1, challenge the narrative. Are you really giving value beyond the transaction? You know, like a total cost analysis, and do some self-analysis on that. Anyways, let's go to number 3, Khai.
You talked about leadership really quickly before we go to number 3, and leadership is just that. It's not just leading people, but it's being a leader and leading into changing times and having the confidence that you are that person as well. And it drives all into that. In terms of number 3, it's listing agent conversion. Typically somebody who does 100 loans a year in a non-refi market like this, about 70–80% of their transactions are purchase. So if you're doing, let's say, 75 purchase transactions, I always ask them this question. So out of 75 listing agents, how many of them are giving you business now? And they'll say, oh man, maybe 2. And I said, all right, so let's set a different metric. What if we shot for 20%, 1 out of every 5? Because I know 4 out of 5 listing agents you don't really want to work with or whatever. That could have been 15. That could have been 15. Would your business have changed if you would have had 15 new agents every year, 10 new agents every single year working with you? It's funny because I have a lot of people come up to me for coaching and they'll say, Khai, can you show me how to meet new realtors? And I say, why? You failed the test working with the 75 realtors you did last year. Let's convert those realtors confidently before we start looking at new realtors. The thing is that if somebody came up to me right now, you have plenty of business between your database, between getting referrals, and between the listing agents. And it could start right now. Think about the last 50 transactions you did. Think about the last 20 realtors that you worked with, and call them. And if you're thinking, well, what should I say? Call them and say, hey, I just wanted to check up on you. And I was wondering if you can do me a favor, because I want to know on a scale of 1 to 5 stars, how did I do? And let the conversation go from there. Now, there's another way to look at this, because some people say this. They say, well, what if I don't really want to work with that many realtors? Because even 1 out of 5, it's not that great. It's about continuity. They don't have to be your partner, but if you could just get 1 more transaction out of them, even that onesie twosie realtor that literally only does 2 transactions a year, but if you can just still get 1 more transaction with them in the future, you're creating continuity, right? And my script for that is you ask them the 5-star question. They say 5 stars, and then you're gonna say, you know what? I really appreciate that you enjoyed working with me. I enjoyed working with you as well. And I would love if we can do another transaction together. Notice I'm not jumping to we should work together, right? I'm not asking somebody to marry me on the first date. It's like, I just want the second date. I would love it if we could do business again, just another transaction in the future. Then you segue into the question. So I don't know your lending situation right now. Do you have a dedicated lender that you work with? Now, there's only going to be 1 of 3 answers, 3 possibilities. 1 is no, I'm not working with anybody. And they've just opened the door. You know what to do. Go in and get that business. 2, I do, but you know what? You were so great. I'm thinking about working with you. And the reason why that's going to come up is because you surveyed them. They said 5 stars out of their mouth. And so they validated to themselves that they need to switch over to you. Now, let's say it's 3. I've been working with a lender for 10 years. I love you. I love everything that you do, but I can't switch because I'm loyal. Then you respond. Totally understand that. Most top producers are like that. But it doesn't mean we can't do a transaction together in the future, because perhaps there's a time that your lender can't do the transaction. Perhaps there's a time that maybe the personality fit or geographical fit fits my team better. Or maybe we just become friends and I don't need to do all of your transactions, just 1. You know what I would like to be? Your favorite number 2 lender. And if you can just get 1 more transaction out of 5 of every single listing agent, that's creating continuity. And those three metrics are not just the sustainability model, but if you run the math, it's a 40% increase in production. So whatever you did last year, just hitting those 3 metrics alone is actually just the last 2 metrics alone is a 40% increase. That's not including the 10% database. The 10% database for some of you could be like a double in your production. There are people that have like 5,000 person databases and they're probably thinking to themselves, man, I don't do 500 phones a year. Well, you should, or you could, right? But just metrics 2 and 3 is a 40% increase in production. And so the Mortgage Coach WOW experience promotes that, because you are, 1 and 2 star service is just selling rates and answering the phone. A lot of people say, oh, you know what my service is? It's answering the phone. Well, that's great in the year 2000, but this is 2020. We're in the era of Zoom and smartphones, and there's a reason why Quicken took market share. So using technology tools like Mortgage Coach, but also sending the videos out where you explain the total cost analysis, that's today. And that honestly is going to get you to the 5th star. And so a combination of using that and then strategically asking for it the way Jeremy does it, that's setting up those 2 metrics.
I love it. So guys, 3 metrics. If anybody's taking notes, if you could put that 5-star script in notes, that was simple and money. And it was so simple, you probably don't need to write it down and put it. But guys, I want you to write it down and put it in there. Because here's the other deal. A lot of you know what you need to know already. You're just not doing what you know you need to do. And I want to talk a little bit. If you have slides you want to share, I want to make sure whatever you want to share today gets shared. But I in the prep for this call, I had asked Khai, what's your favorite book this year? And it just so happens that his favorite book happens to be my favorite book. So
Yeah.
Khai, what is your favorite book for 2020 so far, and why?
It Takes What It Takes by Trevor Moawad. It takes what it takes. I'm a sports fanatic. As you can see, I'm wearing my Kobe Bryant my Kobe Bryant shirt. This is the Mamba symbol, but it's also love. Huge Kobe Bryant fan. My favorite basketball player is actually Magic Johnson, but I'm a huge Kobe Bryant fan because of his mindset and his approach, not just to business, but to life. I mean, he was a great father. He extended his career doing other businesses and doing great things. And every day he just wanted to be a better person. And so I love sports psychology. Relentless was one of my favorite books over the years with Tim Grover, and he talks about the psychology and the mind of Jordan and Kobe. So when Trevor came along, Trevor is the sports psychologist for the Jaguars, Nick Saban in Alabama. We all know their pedigree. I was listening to the Dan Patrick Show on ESPN, and he was this guest speaker, never heard of him before. And he talked about this book, hadn't even come out. I went to Amazon and I put myself on the pre-order. But I'll tell you what I love about Trevor the most, and I've always believed this, is that he promotes neutral thinking. Neutral thinking takes emotion out of everything. And I know growing up, you know, people had running jokes with me. They said, "Oh, you're like a robot sometimes, Khai. You don't have emotion. Is it the Asian thing in you?" Right? People would joke about that. But I always love neutral thinking because you're not setting yourself up for failure either way. Because if you have negative thinking, you're setting yourself up for failure. And if you have too much positive thinking, to be honest with you, I'm not really a fan of the whole positivity movement, because you're setting an expectation of maybe expecting something that you're not going to get. Neutral thinking is more about the actions. And like, there's a part in the book that was my favorite when he talks about Nike's slogan, "Just do it." And he said, think about how neutral "just do it" is. It's not necessary. He's not saying just win or be the best. It's just do it. It's about the action, and take out any preconceived notion you have of whether you're gonna win or fail. You're just doing things and you're doing action. And it's that neutral way of thinking. If your business and your life is up and down, that's not neutral. This is neutral. This is neutral, right? And you don't have to deal with emotions. Right now, in times like this, there's a lot of people that their emotions are really going up and down. The market's going up and down. But those of us that can think neutrally, look at the facts, see it for what it is, and take advantage of the opportunity for what they are the people that are going to win. And sports is a perfect example, because I don't think people realize how much mental game there is in sports. And if you have a bad play, you have to shut that out and take that emotion out. But that's why it's my favorite book. And I was looking for like sort of a successor to Relentless, because Relentless can be a little harsh sometimes.
Right.
But it's been really great. And I tell people, don't be hard on yourself, but don't be too happy. And they're like, "What do you mean don't be too happy?" And I said, because happiness only lasts for so long. Oh, I don't mean happiness, but like this inflated joy, right? This artificial joy. Just be neutral with your thoughts.
Well, I first heard of the book a little over a month ago. I interviewed Joe Jardine, and it was called Mental Toughness with Joe. And he is a sports psychologist who, helps, he works with the Dallas Cowboys. He's worked with the Patriots. He's usually working with the coaches, so that he's helping the coaches, show up better for the players so they can be their best when it matters most. And he mentioned, this book, and I was like, oh, I got to check that out. And I had an interest because, one, I was interested, and then two, my son is an athlete, and he's going to play for Syracuse next year. And I was like, one of the things that he really needs to work on this year is, just a mind game. And so I read it for myself. I wanted to read it to be, just show up as a better leader for my son, and try to get him to read it, which, by the way, he has the audiobook and he's listening to it. But there were just so many practical takeaways from it. I love the neutral thinking metaphor. I think in today's market, the thing, one of my favorite takeaways from it is he talks about the power of negativity, and how negative thoughts are so much more powerful than positive thoughts in terms of their influence over you. And then when you say something out loud, you further amplify it. And he tells a whole story about how he worked with Alabama when Saban first brought him in. And, for the entire season, their goal was to just not say negative things out loud. Just like the way they said it, don't say stupid shit out loud. If we could just limit the team from saying things that, are negative, they're unnecessary, we're going to elevate our mind game collectively as a culture. And I just thought that was like so on point for life, as a parent, saying negative things out loud. Like, there's a lot of things we just say out loud that we absolutely don't. Like, it's okay that we're thinking it because we're human beings and our mind thinks a lot of things, but to be more thoughtful about what you say out loud. So anyways, guys, I put a link down below to a 35-minute interview. It's free. It's on YouTube. It's on the impact theory. It'll give you some cliff notes on the book. I highly recommend you guys get the book, check it out, but you just got 35 minutes of free value to decide if you want to get the book. So check that out. If if you're one of those people that likes to, work on your mind game. So Khai, we got about 30 minutes left in this conversation. And, first of all, I think we could like wrap it up now and say between working on your mind game and working on those 3 metrics, like everybody could double their business tomorrow. But, what are some other things you want to make sure we cover over the next 30 minutes?
I think it's important that people have the right perspective of what's happening right now with COVID. And I talk a lot about also the entrepreneurial mindset, is thinking like an entrepreneur. Too many people in our industry, they think they've framed themselves. So if you want to talk about a mindset game, you framed yourself as a loan officer or salesperson. So if I frame myself as a salesperson, all I can see is the next sale, which is good or bad, and then I'm going to be obsessed with leads and selling. And if you frame yourself as a loan officer, then you start to get into too much paperwork and processing. Entrepreneur is that top level where you're able to see growth and adaptability, and you're able to see opportunity for what it is. Entrepreneurs look for opportunity. They look for opportunity and they capitalize on the market. So here's the typical person producer. Let's see, I'm gonna go this way, right? Let's say you did 20 million, and then you say next year, I'd like to get to 40 million, and then 70 million, and then 120 million. And there's always that mindset, and it's all about numbers, and it's all about this natural progression. And that is not the entrepreneurial mindset. That's actually, if you really think about it, it's an employee mindset. It's a job mindset. Because whether you look at it in volume production or unit production, that's exactly how an employee thinks. If you have a job and you make 50,000, what are you thinking? I hope I get a raise, and I hope I get a promotion to get to 70,000, and then I hope I can get to 90,000, and I hope I can get to 120,000. And it reminds me of an analogy that I heard. Everybody knows Tony Hawk, the pro skateboarder, and they asked him, one year in an interview. I read this about 5 years ago. They said, for all the great things that you did, was it more like a physical challenge or was it a mental challenge? And he said it was definitely a mental challenge, because what happens is when pros are doing tricks and then an amateur sees it, all the amateur can see is that gap between that distance. So if a pro is doing a jump 10 feet high and the amateur does it too, the amateur's thinking, how do I get that? I'm going to go 2 to 3 to 4 to 5. And it's like this really slow climb. If a pro does 10 feet and another pro comes by and sees it, he's just going to look at that pro and say, how fast did you go? And what was the trajectory? Because I'm going straight for that goal. I'm going straight for it. I just need to know speed and trajectory. And he said, and then so Rodney Mullen, who's another legend, chimes in and says, yeah, you know what Tony does? Tony says, okay, so this is 10 feet. That's the speed and trajectory. Let me increase that because I'm going to go 12, right? So here's how entrepreneurs think. Entrepreneurs aren't thinking, here's where I am. Where you are doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is where the market is. So we have to see the opportunity for what it is. So what is the opportunity right now? And I'm gonna talk a little bit about it, but here's the reality. There's enough opportunity right now for everybody to be doing business. Even without talking about strategy, everybody listening to this call knows a loan officer that's doing 20 loans a month in this market. That means the opportunity is there. As long as there's at least 1, 2, 5, 10 in this mortgage coach community, I think you hit 9,000, right? Just recently. There's a handful of people doing 20 plus loans a month. That means that the opportunity is there. So you should immediately ask yourself, what's the speed and what's the trajectory for me to do it? And I get it. Well, maybe I'm in this market or I do this. Well, then pivot. Pivot and figure out what it is, because that's what adaptability is. It's going to the opportunity. Do you think Richard Branson, when he started Virgin Music, had any idea that he was going to open Virgin Airlines? No. But as an entrepreneur, he saw the opportunity that was there. Okay. So right now there's a ton of opportunity in the market. And I can tell you a few. I don't know if you have any comments on what I just said, but I see so much opportunity. And one of the main opportunities right now is even this. This is like the Zoom meetings. We're transforming into a technology world. I've been telling clients for like 2 years, you should have Zoom meetings with your realtors, but it was sort of like this obscure concept. Well, everybody's doing it now just to stay sane. And not only our realtors at home, that's an opportunity. By the way, every buyer and every realtor is at home right now. Everybody's on lockdown, everybody's on quarantine. So that's an opportunity. You're going to get a captive audience. We can reach out to people more. So you can do Zoom meetings, you can do Zoom meetings, happy hours, however you want to do it. And this will continue to sustain even when quarantine's over. You should continue to do Zoom meetings. And the opportunities there is also to bridge the gap between with the perception of Quicken. I know we talk about Quicken a lot, but they're a very smartphone interface. And so we have to up our game when it comes to technology. And what Zoom also allows, when you see the opportunity, is I hear this a lot in normal markets. Well, there's not a lot of inventory in my market, or my market does this. Well, here's what Zoom allows you to do with the opportunity. Now that everybody's used to it, you can go out of your market. You can finally have that Zoom meeting with that realtor that's 100 miles away that you normally wouldn't drive to, but you can now set up an appointment and do a Zoom coffee with them. By the way, let me show you what Zoom coffee looks like when you're doing it virtual. It looks like this. Hi, let's meet at Starbucks for a coffee meeting, right? Or we'll do a Zoom happy hour with your realtors, virtual backgrounds. The opportunity is there for you to finally expand your market. And there's really not an excuse for, well, my market is this. Well, look at other markets where there's opportunity, okay? So much, and you know, it's funny because I never like to think that you want to capitalize on people's failures, but there, you know, in markets like this, there is a lot of people that are sort of deer in the headlights, or they're dropping out of the market, or lenders are having problems. And this is also a market share opportunity for people. You know, this is your opportunity to grab more market share from your competition that's doing nothing right now, because they're sitting home at quarantine with deer in the headlights, not know what's going on, and reaching out and getting out there and talking to people. I can tell you right now, there are realtors out there that their loan officers don't know what to do because of liquidity or rates, and they're not contacting their realtors, and you can reach out to them right now. And you can show them the technology that you have moving forward with Zoom, with Mortgage Coach, with the TCA, with videos, and you can grab that. There's a leadership opportunity in it. Yep. I can go on forever.
Well, I just want to unpack a few things, because we really could. We could, you know, the 3 metrics, and now the concept of using Zoom creatively. I'm going to be interviewing Glenn Bill tomorrow, a top realtor. And, you know, I asked Bill, you know, what's the topic? What do you want to talk about? And he was, you know, just like, realtors need good loan officers more than ever right now. You know, they need the connection, and it just perfectly aligns. I don't know what he's going to say tomorrow. It's going to be 9 o'clock in this group tomorrow, but I know that a lot of what Khai is saying will align with that. Also, Bill Hillstad, who is just, like you said, I talked to him yesterday. He's a huge fan of yours. I interviewed him a few weeks ago, and he is advocating that you do Zoom interviews. And you're interviewing, think of who are the 50 most influential people in the city that you live in, that you one, interview them on Zoom in like short 10-minute interviews, and 2, you market them and advertise them on Facebook. And I'll put a link down below, but Bill is going to do a workshop next week where not only does he teach you how to advertise on Facebook, but he's literally, over the 6 weeks of the workshop, he's going to help you build your brand. He's going to help you implement and execute it. So guys, check it out. I'll put a link down below because it's a big idea. Also, Mortgage Coach community. I want to know two things. One, I want to know the size of your database. So put your database size down below. I haven't seen enough of you do that yet. And then two, I want to know, how are you using Zoom right now? You know, I know, like I saw Dan Keller chime in, and I don't know if you saw it in Facebook, but Dan is like spot on, you know, to Khai, you know, said all right. But Dan, what are you doing with Zoom right now with realtors, mortgage coach community? What are you doing with Zoom right now? And Khai, what are your thoughts on that Bill Hillstead interview strategy and then promoted on Facebook? I'm sure you're familiar with it because I know you're good friends with Bill. What are your thoughts on that strategy?
Bill, I don't know if I've said this enough, at least to his face, but Bill was the number one reason why I'm where I am today with his mentorship. My relationship was with Bill and Tim Brahim because they were business partners, and Bill with his database mindset, all the database metrics, that's coming from Bill. That's me 20 years now regurgitating. Bill taught me there's only two things that you need to do: build your database and nurture your database. Build your database, put as many people in there as possible, and then nurture your database and get a 10% pull through. You do those two things, you'll have plenty of business year after year after year. Then, I call that self-sustaining, but self-growing is the next level, which I learned from my coach, which is Dan Sullivan, strategic coach. Self-growing is when you get that database to build for you through referrals, and you grab listing agents, and you grab title agents, and you grab attorneys, and everybody along its path, which I also learned from Greg Frost, right? There's another legend in the industry. So you have self-sustaining, but you also have self-growing. And so in terms of the Zoom interview strategy, one of the things that I've been telling people right now is that in darkness, the voice of light shines the brightest. And right now, there's a lot of darkness in the industry and in the world. And so for those of us that want to be leaders, we are the light that everybody will gravitate to. So every positive message you put out there, I know what I'm saying, I said neutral, but you still have to put a positive message out there. Every forward-thinking message out there, because you want to interview people, you want to spread knowledge, you want to spread ideas, you want to help them market and brand themselves. When you interview people too, let them know, I'm going to record this and you can use this also to promote your brand and your knowledge, and for you to be a leader. Whenever you do an interview with somebody, it goes both ways. Whenever I'm finished with an interview like this benefits the mortgage coach community, I have a link, and it benefits my brand as well. But leadership is key right now. That's another opportunity. And everything that we've talked about today, you can regurgitate with your realtor partners. Get on a Zoom and ask them these questions. What's your database? What's your pull-through rate? What's your client referral pull-through rate? How are you using Zoom technology? How are you moving forward into the future? Have you set up virtual tours yet? Have you set up mechanisms to reach out to your database, whether it's Agent Legend or Lion Desk or all this different technology that will reach out? All these things that we're talking about for us. I went to a Tom Ferry seminar a couple years ago because I wanted to see what realtors learn. And I literally walked out of there thinking to myself, this was exactly like a mortgage event, except it was just to realtors. That was it. And so everything that's relevant to us, I think so many people are confused or wonder what value they can give to realtors. If you've ever gotten value out of this community, there's a way to just reframe it to the realtor community. And so go out there and be a leader. And because these realtors right now, they're a little bit deer in the headlights too, and go out to them and say, think like an entrepreneur, be a leader. By the way, I have a gift for you. It's this book by Trevor Moawad. It's called It Takes What It Takes. And if you're worried about a little coronavirus on the book, I'll just send you the Kindle version or the Audible version. That works too. Let's go digital, right? Do you have an Audible account? Literally everything that we talked about, that's the opportunity with real estate agents. And here's the thing with the real estate agents, they're gonna say, thank you so much right now because I've had my head in the clouds. It's been so confusing. You know, when you talk about negativity, it's hard to go on Facebook right now. Everybody wants to focus on the negativity of what's happening in the world. And it's not that we don't recognize it, and it's not that we don't read it. I'm just choosing not to let it fester. And there's a reason why, for all of you that are Facebook friends with me, I continue to, say jokes and say funny things, because I just want my head to be in that space. And that's what Trevor talked about. Trevor said, stop listening to those country country breakup songs. Listen to positive things. Continue to make jokes. I said a joke, and then somebody said to me, well, you won't be joking if you're in the hospital one day with COVID. And I said, you know what? I'm going to be joking to the day I die. And I hope in my funeral, you guys are all joking, because that's really the only way I ever want to live and die. Because negativity festers like a rapid brush fire that we have here in Southern California. But we need leadership right now. There are really, really great leaders out there. Bill Hillestead, Bill Hart is a phenomenal leader. Rene Rodriguez is a phenomenal leader. Rene Rodriguez has his Lighthouse series right now. Cindy Ertman. These are the people that you want to attach yourself to, listen to their message, and then just go where they go. But then say to yourself with that confidence, you know what, I can be that too. And neutral thinking, take out all the possibilities of success or failure and just do it. I don't like to be cliche, but there's so much truth in what Trevor said, is that it's such a neutral statement. Just do the action. And that's another opportunity. And millionaires and billionaires today, they're made in these markets. Market share is made in these markets. Nobody takes market share when things are good, because everybody's jumping in. So if you think about it, in a good market, you're actually losing market share. In a bad market, you gain market share. So if you're the one that's standing, and we know this because this, I was talking to some people, and we remember 2008, but what about the aftermath of 2008? Who came out of that? 2009, 2010, a lot of great leaders were built out of that. And I look back at that, and I have a lot of faith in what's going on now, because I came out of that, we came out of that, and I look forward to what 2021 is going to be like. Because if it's anything like 2009, we're just going to go up from there. And I'm really excited about this market. It's weird, it's crazy, but I am, because this is the time that that everybody's just confused, and I'm just plowing through it.
So couple things. I just posted something that Tim Brahim actually texted me yesterday morning, and it was definitely the brightest thing of the day. And Khai, I love that quote. In darkness, the voice of light is very, very bright. And that kind of ties back to, you can think, and again, we're human beings. We're going to have fear. We're going to have despair. We're going to have these negative thoughts, but what we say out loud, how we show up as leaders, again, you have a choice. That could be the voice that you want to have, but I do gravitate to everybody like you. I started the whole thing. You just make me happy when I interview you. And now I know why. It's because of that quote. But Tim forwarded me a link to a YouTube video. It was only 16 minutes long. And when Tim says, watch something, check something out, you at least for me and the relationship I have with him, I just do it. Like, oh, he only does that a few times a year, and he's never let me down, and I watched this special. I put a link into it. It's 16 minutes. Khai, have you seen it? It's called The Zoom Surprise, Some Good News with John Krasinski, the dude from, God, what's the name of the show?
I saw the link. I saw the link as I was scrolling down the group, and I watched a few minutes of it. I think it's like 15 minutes long, but it's pretty amazing, some of the things he does. I want to go back and watch it again when I have some time and really dissect everything that he did. But it's like his new show, right?
Yeah, anybody who doesn't have 60 minutes, by the way, I would watch the whole 60 minutes. I watched it with my family last night. But if you only have a little bit of time, start at 8 minutes and 28 seconds. And not only will you see the most creative use of Zoom I've ever seen, not only is it the most entertaining use of Zoom I've ever seen, but I mean, you're crying, you're laughing, you're smiling. And I can only speak for myself, but I thought about this video like just countless times throughout the day. It's a really bright spot, and you'll see how he is showing up. For those of you guys who don't know who he is, he's the star of Jack Ryan on Prime. So I never do his name. Like if you said his name, Jack, whatever his last name is, with a K, I wouldn't have known it. But guys, check this out. And here's another thing, guys. He just started doing this last week. Here's this Hollywood actor who decided, you know what? I'm going to do a news show about good news. And I don't know the whole backstory. To me, it looks like he has self-funded it. Looks like self-funded, self-produced, and it's mind-boggling. And by the way, someone is saying episode 1 is even better. So guys, check it out. But the takeaway for this is, one, it's a good example of someone who's being the light. It's a good example of someone who is gaining market share. Guys, like when I looked at this video last time, it was like 5 million at 8 last night. It was like 6 million views at 9 o'clock last night. And it was the number 2 trending video on YouTube. And it's because the guy is getting after it. He's being creative. And that's my wish and my hope for everybody on today's show, is that, Khai has inspired you with his favorite quote. He's given you some tactics and tools from all the mentors and coaches that he has. So Khai, we got 10 more minutes. I think we've given just ridiculous amounts of value. And you've also shared some values that are some metrics, like the referability or the referral metric that I'm not tracking, I'm not advocating, but I will from now on, and I'll give you credit for it, bro. Of course, you also, I know we've overwhelmed you with videos, but here's the deal, guys. I guarantee every one of you is overwhelming yourself with screen time. And I would just push you, the Rene Rodriguez, my brother from another mother, the leader of Amplify, replace some Netflix with his Lighthouse series, replace some of your Netflix with this new YouTube. Of course, if you're not watching a mortgage coach YouTube video at least once a week, you are, not taking market share. You are not getting better. But Khai, these last 10 minutes, what else do you want to make sure we cover? What else, what other value do you want to bring to the community?
I think one of the things, because it's myself paying tribute to Kobe Bryant throughout this year, is it's his relentless pursuit of just being a better person. And I think it starts there. And it's, I had a conversation with somebody today about whether he was ready for coaching. And I told him, I said, it's not about the strategies that we do. It's not about the numbers that you do. It's immediately your commitment to become a better person in general, and all aspects of life. Because I can tell you what's difficult about the mortgage industry is not just doing the business, but we find ourselves, even the top producers, and you've had these conversations before when somebody said, I've lost motivation, or I don't know what my purpose is anymore. And I think that what's happening in the world right now is that it's causing us to look in the mirror and ask ourselves what life is really about and what's really important to us, and how this change is allowing us to see the world differently. And I've looked at this quarantine and I've said, this is the time that I'm also going to place extra emphasis on improving myself, because no, I'm not going to jump on and watch Tiger King because everybody's doing it. Everybody's doing it. And I can't say that I'm bored, because if you're bored, that means that you're not spending that time working on that database. This is the time that you should be working on all these things for the first time. Now, I know there's a segment of loan officers that are saying, what are you talking about? I'm up to my ears in business. Well, then great. But here's the thing about being up to your ears in business. Production comes and goes. Production doesn't define you. Even the people that are up to their ears in business and doing 20, 30 transactions, when this is gone, what will you have to show for it? Maybe a couple of extra zeros in the bank, but what did you really get out of this period of time in life? What did you learn out of it? One of the things that I started doing, and it was tough, but I now wake up at 5:30 every single morning, because I get the first 2 hours of the day to myself, because it's my commitment to myself to be a better person and to think and to meditate and to read, and it starts there. And Trevor talks about that. Trevor talks about the reason why athletes will wake up at 5:30 also is because they have to prepare their minds, their bodies, their diet, their fitness. But he also said this, he said, if you're waking up at 5:30 in the morning, you can't go partying at 11 o'clock at night, at 1 o'clock at night, 2 o'clock at night. So it was also their way of saying, this is more important than that. And I tell you, I used to dread waking up at 5:30 because it was almost like something that I'm being forced to it. I look forward to it because that's my time. It's the time that I want to be better. And I've heard a lot about this too, Khai. I don't know. I mean, I'm either busy at work or I'm at home and I got to homeschool people. Well, nobody's up at 5:30. Nobody's up at 5:30. 5:30 in the morning, what I do is I have my planner, a journal, I write my goals, I think about the big picture, I meditate a little bit, I read a little bit, I might watch a video. There's plenty of resources here for us. And again, I want everybody to see the opportunity, because when you look out, you see the opportunity. Dan Keller is just a mega rock star. There's enough in just watching Dan Keller that you should already tell yourself, there's enough business for me to do 200-300 units this year. Your mindset now should be, I just need to put the logistics together. Stop asking yourself if it's possible. Stop asking yourself how it's done. Think about the logistics. But you can't think about the logistics if you wake up in the morning, hop out of bed, and immediately check your emails and go about your day. So I've been a big fan of starting early, and it's that mental commitment to myself. And it starts there. And one of the things, I also recommend this too, and it's a weird thing to recommend, but there is, and I'm actually gonna pull it up. I recommend everybody watch the Michael Jordan eulogy to Kobe Bryant. and I'll tell you why I like it. Nothing says you're great more than the greatest basketball player saying how great you are. And he talked about passion and how Kobe just had a passion like no other, that even Michael Jordan was amazed by this passion. Another thing that he said was, he said, Kobe was the biggest pest. The guy had the nerve to text me and ask me questions from his rookie year. And what I learned from that is also, don't be afraid to be a pest. I think we're almost too respectful of each other. You know, you guys want to flood me with questions? Flood me with questions. This is what Jordan said about Kobe. He said, at first I was really annoyed when he kept bugging me, sometimes at 2 a.m. But what I realized was that he thought to himself, nothing was going to stop him from being successful, even if it meant to bug what was the most important, busiest person ever. And he said, at first it was an annoyance, but then I realized that anybody who wanted something that bad, it was a compliment because he wanted it from me. So I learned to be the best big brother possible. You want to flood me with questions, Mortgage Coach user? Come at me, because that's what I want to give back. But I will love to see that passion out of you. I can tell you, there's one key that I see in my coaching clients. It's the coaching clients that are bugging me outside of the calls. If you sign up for coaching, whether you're with Bill Hart, whether you're with myself, whether you're Cindy, whether you're Tim, and all you're doing is you're just going to the calls and going to the events and you're not doing anything more, you're not doing the extracurricular activities, you're not bugging the coach, you're not bugging the teacher, you're not putting in those extra hours, that's the difference. That's the difference. And that's Mamba mentality. And that's what Kobe Bryant meant to me. And I'm going to find that link and I'm going to send it to you because I just sent it to somebody this morning. And you'll see, you'll realize how great he was and the lessons that you can learn from him.
I promise you, I will watch that link today, tomorrow morning, put it in the link to this video.
Should I?
And I'll make sure it's in YouTube. So for anyone watching this in the Mortgage Coach YouTube channel, which just passed 10,000 subscribers last week, thank you for everybody that gives the Mortgage Coach YouTube channel your attention. We couldn't be more grateful to have the honor to just bring you value. And it's not about us at Mortgage Coach. It's about Khai. It's about the leaders that are doing it in the market, whether they're coaches or top producers, Jeremy Forcier, Dan Keller, Kelly Zitlow, Denise Donahue. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Shayla Gifford, who was the #1 video of 2019. That interview is just priceless. And so guys, we're here to give you the inspiration to go to the next level. I hope you will bug Khai. I love that as the closing takeaway. We have put links to Khai's Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. The guy is on social media. By the way, Khai, you kill it on social media. You just have a wit about you that makes you fun to follow. So thank you for being you, bro. You make me smile all the time. And I'm looking forward to our next interview. We didn't even get to Khai's slides. Anybody who's seen me interview Khai before, usually it's like he's got the best slides. And we had slides ready to show, but we just didn't get to them. So we will have to schedule another Mortgage Coach interview so we can get to the Khai McBride slides. I also just remembered we created a channel for Rene Rodriguez. So his Lighthouse series of videos, not only are they available by following Rene, but they're available in the Mortgage Coach YouTube channel. So you can put them up on the big screen in your home. You could share them from our YouTube channel. We think that that is some of the best content in the business. And then, you know, guys, really reach out to Khai. If you have a question for him, reach out to him. We are at the top of the hour, so we're going to call it a wrap. Khai, is there any last words of wisdom or a last quote you want to give before we close out today's call?
Just the one that we said: in darkness, the voice of light shines the brightest. It's very, very bright. And just, you know, be like Kobe and be better, be a better person. But it starts there. There's plenty of things for you to do. And I don't want to be a cliche rattler, right? But this is a really, really great time. It really, really is. And the easiest thing to do is, you know, another thing about Kobe was that to leverage this community, one of the reasons why he was great was he did something very, very simple. He found the best player and emulated him to the T. His game and Michael Jordan's game is almost identical. So you want to be like Dan Keller? Emulate Dan Keller. You want to be like Jeremy Forcier? Emulate Jeremy Forcier. Watch every single Jeremy Forcier video and do every single thing just like Kobe did with Jordan, and you will be like Jeremy Forcier. We overthink things so much. There's so much value in the mortgage coach community. Pick one person and say, I'm going to emulate that person, or pick 4 people and say, I'm going to take this you know, this part of that person's game and that person's game, that person's game, and you'll become those parts. And that'll be the closing block. So one, guys, you could do a search in our YouTube channel. So be in the channel and put in a person's name, and it'll pull up all the videos under that person's name. We do so happen to have a Jeremy Forcier playlist because I've interviewed him so many times, and you know, I created a playlist for him. So guys, if you got value from today's call, you know, let us know down below. Give us a like. If you loved it, give Khai a love and share this with your team. We will see you next Tuesday. Of course, every Friday at 9, we do a call. And every single day we have a live training here at Mortgage Coach. We are just dedicated to upgrading your game, making you the best mortgage professional that you can. So Mondays for beginners, Monday training every day. Wednesdays, we're teaching you mortgage strategies so you can become a black belt in mortgage advice. Thursdays, it's the Genius Bar. You know, think of like you're going to Apple and you're going to the Genius Bar. Well, we've got a Mortgage Coach Genius on Zoom at 9 to answer any and all questions on how to use the technology in our platform. And Friday is our mastermind. Check it out. Khai McBride, you're the man, bro. Appreciate you. Thanks again, Dave.
This call is a wrap. Take care, everybody.